Oh god, where am I? Where have I ended up? Okay, we are here. Excellent. That is the end of the board. Oh yes, and I also need to be in that. For goodness sake, give me the right screen. Thank you. Okay, we good. Okay, right, and that is recording my voice. Excellent. I'll just be a little bit further forwards, but we should be all working. If that even wants to show me the... Yeah, I don't want to... Fine. Okay, right. Hello everyone, I'm Iron Phoenix and welcome to Heartsfire 4. Welcome back to Heartsfire 4. We did an hour yesterday, and I thought, well, you know what, I've got some time. Sunday, weekend. Let's have another hour of Heartsfire. So anyway, welcome to Heartsfire, as I said. So we're in 1937, and as we know, 1938 is where it starts to really sort of hot up. So we've got 6 months to finish preparing for what we know to be war. There's going to be a few decisions to make on things like what happens to Czechoslovakia. But for the moment, we don't need to worry too much. Well, we do need to worry, but it's slightly different. I've got unassigned. I've got some decisions that I can make. I could give refuge to German scientists, which would give me a reduction in stability, which would be fine, actually, because I'm at 100% at the moment. But it would also boost my research. I'm going to do that, actually. Yes, let's do that. My own version of Operation Paperclip. Yeah, because that will give me a research boost, which would be nice. And yeah. And yeah, people escape the Nazi regime, which is always good. And yeah, so they can work towards our defence, essentially. So that's that. How far are we off Mediterranean Bastion? 30 days or something. Oh god, that's going to be over quite quickly, and that's still mainly about unassigned divisions. Actually, I probably should sort that out as well, because I do want to start clumping my forces up at Dover. Obviously, keeping a reasonable spread just sort of dotted around, just in case I do get invaded, is a good plan. But getting troops over to France when the time comes, I'm going to want to do that, basically. So yeah, let's just accelerate time again, because I am going to try and be reasonably... Oh, there's Dunkirk. I am going to try and be reasonably, not exactly historically accurate, because yeah, that's probably not really possible, but trying to do a bit of a defence of France, if nothing else, but to try and to give myself a bit more time, basically. That's, it's a delaying tactic as far as I'm concerned. Right, okay, what do we have? So our shipyards are now just working on those 2 ships. Will be ready for the time all hell breaks loose. That's good. Even so, maybe getting some heavy cruisers in might be an idea. In fact, we can do something else here, actually. Let's cancel that. Yep. If I go to here, and if I go to the heavy cruiser I was going to do, the Hawkins... oh god. Let's go for the county class. And let's make a Mark II variant. And we can spend some points. I might be able to spend a little bit of... Oh, I don't have enough. Okay. Can I do something? This is basically how you create a variant. Yeah, no, I don't have enough points, but yeah, you can make outdated ones as well if you're just desperate for something. Right. In any case, I'm going to make some maybe 5 of these. We must have got some more dockyards as well from somewhere, or possibly not. It's fine. Right, so our dockyards are now making that. We've got the Mediterranean Bastion, which is good, as that will allow us to fortify the rock, which will give us... let's nip back there. So Mediterranean Bastion gave us boosts to land forts and coastal forts, as well as some stuff in Alexandria. Fortify the rock will boost the defences at Gibraltar, which is going to be rather a useful sort of landing spot for me to deploy troops from into Malta. Well, yeah, moving troops over to Malta and then potentially invading Sicily to give myself a better sort of base of operations. And is that a land crossing? Possibly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the dotted lines are. It must be a land, sort of a crossing that troops can make without having to embark. Which again, another good reason to get hold of there so that the Italians don't sort of come in. I wonder if actually I could move my ships down to there. That might be a good move, to move some troops down into Malta so that I can then move in there. They're going to be a little bit outdated, but they're going up against the Italians. That probably won't matter too much because, well, they didn't have much in the way of armour. It's one of these things where, so the Italians are generally slated for how dreadful their tanks were, and you can kind of understand why. They were not a particularly technologically advanced nation back then. They didn't have the industry to build the good stuff like Germany did and like what Britain managed to cobble together. Britain had an awful lot of companies that while they were not military firms, they had the factories that could potentially produce tanks and vehicles and weapons, really, because just convert your factory that makes clothes and just kind of add some more heavy machinery in, and suddenly you're making uniforms, body armor and the like. So yeah, it's not really too surprising that England was able to cobble something together. Germany, obviously industrial powerhouse, and Russia as well. They just took whatever factories they had and just converted them into they just sort of converted them into factories to make whatever they needed to make. I need to start building bombers, because the bombers that I have are not very good. So I need to start making Wellingtons, and I can reduce that down to 44 a day, so just that we can start getting those bombers made. I do need more military factories though, so I'm starting to get to that point where having some more military factories would be rather useful. East Anglia can have 3, and I'll put 1 in Greater London as well. Something else that Britain did for factories anyway was they built an awful lot of stuff underground, so fortified factories so that you couldn't bomb them out. And I believe there was this is stuff that we don't really need to worry about at the moment. These are sort of things that are going on, but they're so far away that there's just no point in worrying about it. Chinese and Japanese forces skirmished inclusively. As far as we're concerned, they're all the way over there. We don't need to worry about them. They're essentially between Russia and America. So I'm not concerned about them whatsoever. Right, now we have another one. So yeah, just finishing that last thought. Yeah, Rover had an engine factory that was underground, and they started off making engines for aircraft, but they did switch the production. I think it was the Meteor engine that they wanted to put in the Cromwell, I think, actually. Very, very powerful engine that was previously only really being used in aircraft. As a result, there was an awful lot of tanks that rolled off the production line with aircraft engines in them, because if a plane crashes, and it's a case of, well, we can still use that engine in a tank. We may not be able to use it in an aircraft, but we can use that in a tank. And so there were engines that had come off air crashes being fitted to tanks, still with damage on them, from the air crash. Just sort of, well, it still works, so it's only being used on a tank anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it. It does sort of matter if it stops working, but if it stops working, it's not really going to kill the crew. Well, it might, but it's by the by. Anyway, fortify the rock has been done. We probably want to fortify Malta next, because I'm going to be using Malta as a staging post. Let's fortify Malta. The idea being that I can move troops theoretically down to Gibraltar and then on to Malta. And then from Malta I can then stage invasions either down into Ethiopia, possibly? Down into Africa anyway, or up into Italy itself, possibly, but via Sicily. Next up, modify government. Oh, I can do another modify. I'm thinking early mobilization. It's going to reduce my customer goods factory, so it's going to reduce customer goods, and it's also going to reduce construction speed. Hold on. That's conversion cost is up. Okay, so it reduces the conversion cost, and it speeds up construction of factories. So I'm gonna start with some early mobilization, just to sort of start getting myself a little bit more prepared. I've got the manpower and I've got the factories now, and the country is pretty stable, which is nice. Everybody is quite popular, and we've just sort of, even with giving refuge to the German scientists, we've counteracted that just by being democratic and just generally stable. Right, what I should probably do is, do I have any? Okay, I've got a tank brigade that's about to come off the line. I'm going to send those, because I think having some tanks down in Malta would be a good idea. I've also got another military factory which I should probably put into weapons, so that we get the upgrades, so that we can finally get out of using I assume flintlocks, but no, it wasn't quite that bad. But things like they were still using quite a lot of single shot rifles. You really don't see, and certainly things like submachine guns were a lot later in the war. But Britain went into battle, and this is so this game is not historically accurate. There are a few slight oddities if we just nip over to the research screen, because actually they went into, I'm just going to that one for a sec, down into infantry. So yeah, 1939, you see the Sten, which is sort of your submachine gun. And you've also got the Vickers and the Lewis machine guns, and the Bren gun. The Bren, which was used sort of as a light support weapon, and in fact used by the commandos firing them from firing them from the hip. You know, so they were crazy anyway. But anyway, but Britain did go in with the Boys anti-tank rifle into the war with Boys anti-tank rifle, which was not very good. It was fine for sort of light armour, and it had the range, but it really lacked it lacked the strength, the stopping power. However, in this game, it's claiming the Boys anti-tank rifle comes along in 1942. Actually, it was 1930 something or other. The Boys anti-tank rifle was just sort of interwar technology. The Piat replaced the Boys anti-tank rifle, and that was an awful lot better. It's one of those things where certainly American historians, they look upon the Piat as some kind of, almost this sort of defective, rushed technology. But actually, there's an awful lot of reason why you might use a Piat over sort of more conventional methods. Essentially, there weren't. Britain didn't have any better methods, and I don't think the Americans did either. I can't do that yet. Do I just want to put my... Probably do just want to grind down getting oil processing in... Yeah. We'll get rubber in first, because obviously we need that for our wheels. Yeah, so... the Piat... essentially, you take a spigot mortar, so it's powered by a spring, and then you have an anti-tank shell in it. And the anti-tank shell doesn't actually differ that much technologically from that of the bazooka that the Americans were using, and still using a sort of a contact fuse. So, if you weren't particularly accurate, then your shell could potentially just bounce off the hull of a tank. So same sort of technology, only the Piat shell is something more akin to a heat round, high explosive anti-tank, and it's using technology which we still use today ultimately. Obviously fairly more primitive, used a sort of a copper cone, and then there was a space behind it, and then you have all the explosives. And the idea being that when the shell hits the tank, the detonator sort of goes off, and you end up with sort of bits of tank raining down. And for lighter tanks, you could go through the hull with one of these things, but I mean the technology was such that you could get the same effect by just walking up with one of these shells and hitting it on the side of the tank. It's not particularly advanced technology. Okay, I'm going to do Commonwealth ties. Let's just get some friends. And we've got some more free military factories, which I'm probably going to want to put into tanks. But yeah, so the Piat is essentially... Oh, we've hit 1938, which means that things are going to start getting a little more interesting now. But we'll wait for that. Also, I've got a tank regiment that's ready to go down to Malta. So I'm going to send them down. They might not be able to go all the way, but... they have to go down to Portsmouth first and then over. So yeah, the Piat is essentially just a delivery mechanism for it, and it's got a fair amount of differences, I guess. So the American bazooka is the sort of the one that they say, oh, this was a wonderful piece of technology. It wasn't. problem with using a rocket-based technology, especially in urban environments, is that you can't actually fire them from buildings. You couldn't fire these bazookas lying down, or even crouching. You really did have to be standing up, and you also have the problem of the backblast. So you can't fire it in buildings, because it will just send you flying forwards probably, and that's not a particularly good thing to do. You couldn't fire it in sort of brush, because the brush is going to catch fire around you. It's probably not the best of places to be. And you can't fire the thing in sort of packed amounts of troops, because again, you've got the backblast problem. You know, if you've got someone standing behind you, you can't fire the thing, because you'll just set them on fire. So actually, although it had the range compared to the Piat, generally I don't think it was all that, and you know, it had a sort of a complicated way of loading the thing. You sort of had to put your rocket in, set it to, you know, they didn't have any sort of backstop or anything, so you had to judge when the rocket was in. Then you had to wire the connectors from the rocket to the trigger, and then you have to, you know, stand up straight in the middle of a field and fire at a tank that's probably going to be shooting back. And although, you know, if you miss, it's probably not going to, you know, it's not going to come back at you quite so quickly. In comparison, oh yeah, and of course you've got all sort of the big sort of flash and noise, and you're basically standing up in the middle of a field, aiming at a tank, and you know, it's very much like, say, you know, like screaming, you know, I am here, come and shoot me. In comparison to the Piat, which didn't have the range, it was probably its sort of biggest downside, was that obviously it didn't have the range, and the cocking mechanism was a little bit of a mess, because to load the thing, it was sort of one of those things where you lie down and you kind of put both feet on the stirrup and haul this 200-pound spring back. It was, you know, something kind of similar, I guess, to a crossbow kind of cocking system. What do we care about? Fighters would be rather useful. I'm going to go with Supermarine. That way we get the bonus to air, and we get a little bit of a bonus to our fighters, which are going to be sorely needed. So yeah, the Piat. Yeah, so that's its big downside, is that it doesn't have a huge amount of range. But you could fire the thing anywhere. It didn't matter if you had a wall behind you or a person or whatever. It didn't matter, because there was no sort of there was an explosive charge, and that was sort of to help push it along. But it was a blank smoke shell. It's, you know, reasonably harmless. Right, I'm just pouring it into infantry at the moment. Did I send the tanks over to... Oh yeah, I sent them over to here. And we can continue... Oh crap. Got the wrong one. Okay. We can continue sending these guys down to Malta. You know, just for general exercises. Not that we're expecting things to go horribly wrong. I'm also very tempted to send some troops down to Gibraltar. Yeah. So yeah, you know, in general, you know, Piat actually, you know, it fitted. It did the job that it was designed for, and in some ways it didn't really matter so much that it didn't have the range, because an awful lot of the times that you were actually using the things was when you've got tanks rolling up at you, because if you want something with range, you're using artillery. You're calling in artillery strikes. You're not necessarily going to try and take on a tank regiment at range without some decent support. I kind of want to do... Can't do that yet. I might want to do some of the home stuff. See, that's gaining stability, and I don't actually need to gain stability at the moment because we're pretty good, but and that gets me something. Embargo Germany, at war with Germany. I'm going to start going down this one. We've got plenty of fuel. So yeah, no. Yeah. So I'm just finishing up that thought. Yeah, the Piat hadn't had its downsides certainly, and if you're going up against heavier tanks, you're basically aiming for the treads. You're aiming to disable them, not to kill them. And in fact, there were other ways of dealing with heavier tanks. Things like those tank destroyers that were very heavily armoured from the front and even from the rear to a certain degree. They had a small design flaw where the they had fans that led down into the crew compartments, and well, you put vents on the top of a tank. Yeah, somebody's going to work out what they can pour through to disable that tank. And yeah, and you had things like the sticky grenades and that sort of thing, which were, you know, they were what they were. They were a way of giving every infantryman a way to potentially kill a tank. It's just that actually, all in all, these things were dreadful. Purely dreadful. It's almost laughable when you think that I'm going to just shave that down and maybe put some more into the... Let's put a couple more into there. I would like to actually maybe shave off another factory and then put another one in there, just so that we can keep these reinforcements coming. We must have just finished a regiment because... Oh, we've got missing... Wait, what? Missing equipment production of something. I shouldn't have closed that. We finished some technologies and I think it's now wanting to upgrade. No, because it didn't say outdated equipment. Anyway, right. This is now to the point where we need anti-aircraft guns in general, and maybe another radar. Some more factories. God, that can have loads. Maybe 3 factories in there. Maybe we add some more factories across the board. Yeah, we can have some in Scotland as well, because why not? So they can start pumping things out. Oh yeah, I was going to send these guys down to Gibraltar. Nothing really has happened yet over here. I can't remember when exactly in 1938 everything goes horribly wrong, but I think it's soon. Issuing gas masks. And we've got these mortars coming in, which will give us boosts. Right, okay. Special forces would probably be a good idea. Specifically the Marines. Yeah, let's get the Marines. That means I can start recruiting Marine divisions and commandos. and our tanks are full, which is good. I don't need to worry about fuel. In fact, because I don't really need to worry about fuel at the moment, I can cancel this trade that I've got going on with, and that will just get us some civilian factories back. Got decisions that I can also make as well. Grow rubber in Nigeria. Develop a tungsten mine. Let's develop a tungsten mine. And also let's do some work in British Raj, which is India. And get some more work on those motorized units. It's all going to be very, very useful in the future. Oh, we've got oil processing. Excellent. We are in 1938 and all of our stuff is as technologically advanced as it can be without me going into that, so that's fine. That is being researched, so let's get into doing radar, because that's going to boost our ability to see them before they can see us. And I can't do any of that yet. Air training plan, what does that give? It gives better training, or I can develop the Raj, which will give us building slots and civilian factories. Okay. Or I can start doing general rearmament, which I'm going to need anyway. Yeah, general rearmament. Because they are getting big. You know, war hasn't actually officially started yet, but Germany is already sort of starting to take back land that they believe is theirs, basically. And it's not quite to the point where they're invading Czech Republic yet, but that will be shortly, I think. Japan has declared war on China. Okay, so now we've got this war going on down here. Oh God. Even now, you look at China compared to Japan. It's like Jesus Christ. Because Japan is so fragmented, getting troops is, oh Lord. Okay. Well, that's a war that we don't have to worry about. Well, we will have to worry about it, but not yet. So it's 1938, and what else can we do? Artillery. Just do that artillery upgrade. And we'll have that computing machine in a moment, which will give us more research speed, so everything will be going quicker, which is always useful. As for units, I don't have Marines yet, no. Okay, let's just continue. Because when we get Marines, I'm going to start training up Marines and probably putting them in Portsmouth ready. And apparently I've got more military factories. So let's start upgrading our bombers. Oh, actually, we've almost got a... in fact, we do have a new ship. So, yeah, this is all my ships that I've been steadily building another fleet. And soon they're going to get a battleship to join them. And that will be my sort of... I don't really know what kind of fleet that one's. Probably a sort of more of a response fleet. So dealing with the likes of things like Bismarck, and Tirpitz, which I mean, at least Tirpitz, which is sort of the one of the Bismarck and Tirpitz being sort of the two battleships that people remember from Germany's forces. Gonna put some work into decryption. So the Bismarck was sunk. Well, it was crippled by swordfish bombers, which were flying so slow that the anti-aircraft guns couldn't hit them. But they were still perfectly capable of jamming the Bismarck's rudder, so they could only turn in circles. We could either defend Czechoslovakia, which means that they'll like us, or we could say they're on their own. I'm going to say they're going to be defended. Not that we can do anything, but they get some French troops by the looks of things. French troops? No, Czechoslovakian troops. We can't do anything to help them. We're an awful lot of, at the moment, we are still very much sort of blustering about, saying, well, we should defend Czechoslovakia, but we don't actually do anything. We can't get over there. They've now declared war on Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is going to lose this fight, and all we can do at this point is watch. However, we also notice something else that's happening at this point. Even though, they're pretty much surrounded, they're going to be wiped out at this point, but there's an awful lot of forces that are ranging up on France. So let's see if we can give them a hand. We can't because... Oh, naval base. We can. So let's send an army over and assign a commander. Yeah, him, Alan Brooke. And we're going to put them up in... Jesus. Probably up here. Yeah. So that when they really push, we can always hopefully pull those units out. But I'm going to do whatever I can at this point to try and help, basically. Meanwhile, general rearmament has been done. Let's get another national focus up. We are basically quite close to being at war at this point, so let's get naval rearmament. Done an awful lot of preparation. Oh, here we go. Call to... yep, we will help. We are now officially at war with the Germans, and it's just with the Germans at the moment, not with Italy yet. But yeah, and you've got all these countries that are now saying, yeah, we are going to try and help and do what we can, but not sure how well this is going to go. I mean, historically, we know how well it went, and not well at all. The Germans had an awful lot of time to prepare, and it kind of came as a bit of a surprise. Oh God, stop. Oh, Italy have just joined. Yeah, I'm going to let them say, you know. And shadow scheme to ease the transition of yeah. Excellent. Well, yeah, no. The more the merrier. Everybody wants to help. Right, we've got 3 military. This is where everything starts going a little bit out of hand. I need aircraft. Yeah, I need aircraft. Yeah, we've got air wings, which we need to start using. So let's get these guys up, and I want them doing air superiority if I can. Oh wait, no, these are. Oh, these are bombers. No, I don't want these guys out. I want. Oh Jesus. Close air support, Vickers Wellingtons. Here we go. Add a new air wing. All the interwar fighters that we have, please move all the equipment. Okay. They are going to deploy, and they are going to be working on air superiority. Meanwhile, we are now technically at war with Italy, which means that theoretically, if there was, say, a surprise attack from nowhere in particular, say, no, here, and of course Malta can support bombers. So now we support bombers, and these guys are going to be doing strategic bombing over Italy, basically. Meanwhile, it would be a terrible thing if there was something to, happen over here. So I'm going to give them, not Montgomery, just give them a general. I am going to, God, why are they not part of that? Yeah, okay, so they're now part of that. We can do an invasion plan. Naval invasion order. So we click to select the invasion source, and then we want to invade here so we can get the ports. They are now going to start getting ready. Force attack. Yeah, they're going to start getting ready for that. Yeah, 49 days. So 50 days they're going to be ready for an invasion. Excellent. So we can start getting a foothold over there. Meanwhile, our units over here are... Oh god. So we've got Belgian forces on the border over here. Kind of want to get in over there. Okay, no, that's fine. This game suddenly goes all horribly, all kinds of wrong. Let's get troops amassing on our borders. Also, how's our various research projects going? I can skip time for a bit. Certainly once we get the decimetric radar up and running, which is something that the Germans did eventually have, and they fitted them to their fighters, which was probably not the best of ideas. Britain did also fit radar to aircraft, but they were the crews were under explicit instructions to destroy the radar should basically you spike your radar and destroy it if you have to ditch. So basically the last thing you do before you jump out of the plane is to make sure that radar is broken into as many pieces as possible. Didn't work so well for the Germans because they had people fly the planes to Britain and land them, and in one instance I saw 2 planes accidentally landed at a British airport thinking that they were in Germany. and suddenly you've got two planes that are, and they didn't mean to. They just got confused, and they were like flying back night fighters that were night bombers, sorry, that were flying back from somewhere over here, and they mistook one of these little bits here for them flying over the sea, and yeah, they landed and were immediately captured, and the planes were repainted in British colours and tested to see what their limits were. And so, all this sort of counter-espionage stuff that the British did. In some cases, it was literally as easy as wait for some German pilots to get confused and land at a British airbase, thinking that they were in Germany. Special forces would probably be quite good. Paratroopers for right now, though. Also, we can recruit some Marines. So I'm going to recruit some Marines down in Sussex. And I'm going to add... I'm going to build 5 units simultaneously. Yeah, so we've got the stock, we've got the supplies to do that. We just need to train them. Did I just do that? Yeah, so we've got the... Yeah, we've got the supplies to do that, so why not, right? We just need to train them, and then we end up with 5 commandos. How on earth are we getting all these fighters from? These are also actually awful fighters at that. Right, how are my armies doing down here? Are these guys ready to go? Not yet, but soon. And we've got them. We've got bombers flying support missions. So we can start getting some access and some security over here. Okay, so it's 1938 still. We should probably start working on our ships, to be honest. Let's get some Southampton class. We are also limited by technology, but as to how many invasion fleets we can run at the same time. I probably should have actually just set up these guys a bit more here. God, they're front line is there. I want to maybe give them a full back line, maybe about there. Yeah, give them that full back line there. Don't want you to fall back yet. In fact, I want you to fight on control click to give that, and then I guess I do that. Yeah, so that's where their fullback line is going. Oh god, no! I want you to control click, do that, fight on that line, and over here these guys are. Oh, these guys are ready to go, I think. So let's move them in. And we'll just accelerate time a little bit more. There's one unit there. Which, oh, Jesus Christ. Italians. Damn it. I think we may... What? Right. Oh no, France are engaging the Italians, that's fine. I just need them to start moving. Click the... yeah, and that one. Go, move, please. Okay, so now we've got another national focus to grab. Let's secure the shipping routes. And yeah, where are my divisions? They're not moving. What's... Oh, no. Shh, damn it. The reason why they're not moving is because I was clicking on the wrong one. So I want to activate the plan. Come on. Right, they're not going to move because they need ships in the area. That's fine. We can do ships in the area. We can certainly do that. We can also get some... move all of that equipment over. Yeah. I want the second one to be flying, doing naval strikes in this area. It's not going to be hugely useful because they are bombers rather than oh, you can attach air wings to armies. That's rather useful. So they are ready to go, but I need to get some... it's that sea which also they're having problems with. Oh, excellent. So we can hide our being. Right, are we 1938? Let's see what we've got. Could get some support companies up. I could also get some of these up. Maybe land doctrine for these are all sort of mutually exclusive things, so so this is sort of more down. Well, all this stuff is more down infantry. What about air doctrine? Air superiority, formation flying, or force rotation. I'm gonna go down there. And we've got another research slot that we need to fill with something. Yeah. Could get sea gladiators, and I believe sea gladiators would be the carrier version, which might be quite useful to have. Also, where's my fleet? There it is. Yeah, so these are going to be doing patrols. Yeah. Fortunately, this is quite yeah, so we need to learn about that region, we need to learn about that one as well. Can I get more planes in Malta? The idea is, the answer is yes. Yes, I can. I want to move all of the fighters over. And we are going to do air superiority. Sorry, the fighters can do air superiority over that little area there. Problem is, I want the port. I could. Logical bomb, thank you. I could actually just reassign them to attack there, and then I would only need to worry about this ocean. That's probably what I would have to do. Let's change. God, how do I do that? Right. So this one, I'm now going to organise an invasion, or an invasion from there to there. And from there to there. Okay. And we've got ships in the area dealing with patrols. Okay. Research slot. Again, we're still 1939 now. That's good. We can start doing some more interesting things. So, Crusader. Crusader being a very capable tank. To start with. Very fast. Good sort of light tank. Good sort of, I think they call them cruiser tanks. So, lightweight, fast, great for reconnaissance, and it had a gun on it so that it could deal with heavier armor, I guess, but not, these were not tanks that could take on panzers, later model panzers, and certainly not Tigers. I mean, in theory, if they got around behind a Tiger, which is certainly perfectly possible, it, I guess, might have been able to disable it. But I think the term that I've heard used whenever, with Crusaders, that the crews had to get suicidally close in order to really damage or even destroy another tank. The guns were not particularly good, but in some cases they didn't really need to be. They were fast tanks, they didn't need to stay and fight, unlike things like Churchills, which you didn't, the Churchills were infantry tanks. They were designed for infantry support, and as a result they were very slow. But they could climb pretty much everything. So, they had upsides as well as some, most British tanks would have had, some upsides and some downsides. And generally there was no such thing as a perfect tank, though I believe the Comet came pretty close. I certainly haven't heard many bad things about the Comet. Let's get some bonuses to research. These are sort of one-time or two-time bonuses to certain aspects of research. They'll speed things up for a hit or two. We've got military. I mean, the concerning thing is that we're in 1939 now. We're not really sort of upgrading our technology. In fact, I'm going to slim down that to give me even more, so I can upgrade. What I could do with is some sea gladiators. Oh, well, it's a carrier fighter. That's not quite what I want. I want naval bombers. And let's start cranking those out. As they are going to be they're going to be the fighters that I can deploy on these little islands and help the fleets. God, the Portsmouth fleet has really been trimmed. You know what? We have a battle fleet here that's called the North Fleet. It's made up of some absolutely hellish things, and I think it's time that they saw battle. I think that's fair. Meanwhile, yeah, we're at war and we're losing. Yeah, we are. The Italians are actually doing very well against us, mainly because, well, it's their territory. Is that ready yet? Yeah, they're ready to go, but they we need to secure the Mediterranean, otherwise they're not going to be able to go anywhere. But it has actually been an hour now, so I think this is where we end. We're in 1939 now. I'm just going to continue to let autosaves, yeah, we're in 1939 now. There we go. There's our autosave. Okay, so let's pause that. So yes, anyway, so we're in 1939 now. We are now officially at war with the Germans and with the Italians. The Germans are going to, working with the Italians, are going to push their way in here and invade, and there's probably not a huge amount we can do about that. We can delay them, but ultimately they are going to be taking over France one way or another. Their forces are just too great at the moment. However, we do have a few trump cards. We do, of course, have the ability to launch an attack into Italy, sorry. And if I can get hold of the Sicilian island, that will be a much greater sort of benchmark for dealing with the rest of Spain up here. Rather interestingly, actually, France has taken over Sardinia, which is good. They have actually invaded down there, so that's good. We do have some allied support down there. But anyway, I'm going to go now, and so this is saved, and I will probably see you next week for some more Hearts of Iron. I'll probably keep this as a weekend thing, but I might be back in the week for some other games like Satisfactory or something. I don't know, whatever I feel like at the time. But with that, I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.